There are many regions in the world where survival is an eternal challenge. But there is a remote place where humans have never been able to settle due to extreme conditions, such as being the coldest place on Earth, a region where the wind itself could kill you. Do not miss this video to discover what is possibly the most enigmatic and extraordinary place on the planet. A huge continent covered by ice, which despite its size and being on our planet, was explored years after mankind discovered the planet Uranus. In this new, uncensored world video, we are going to know in more detail Antarctica, one of the most inhospitable and cold, but at the same time beautiful and mysterious territories of the planet. Antarctica, the only uninhabited place on Earth, except for small temporary camps, and which has no time zone. A huge continent with such surprising curiosities as being the coldest place on the planet, with temperatures that drop below 90 degrees below zero, being considered the largest laboratory in the world, or contain unique phenomena such as blood waterfalls, contain huge blocks of ice that seem to sing, species of fungi that can survive on Mars, or the presence of fire under the glacier. This polar desert, the largest in the world, also harbors the existence of sea monsters, as well as the largest iceberg in the world, which some time ago broke off and drifted away, with a size 3 times larger than New York City. A region almost as big as South America, that contains 90% of the Earth's ice, in which there is only one village and a few camps, where sometimes its inhabitants have to share a bed, forget about any kind of intimacy, and reduce their shower time to less than 90 seconds. Would you like to know what life is like in Antarctica, while you discover the most impressive mysteries of the most unexplored place on Earth? Well, let's get started. Antarctica, although many do not know it, is the only region of the planet that does not belong to any country. A space in which, in the year 1952, 12 countries signed a treaty committing that the so-called seventh continent be used only for peaceful purposes. In spite of this and its majesty, it is the least populated place on Earth because it is probably the most inhospitable region. A space so wild that the wind itself could kill you. But also, a fascinating destination full of mysteries and curiosities that captivate anyone, as you are about to see. Antarctica, an icy continent located in the extreme south of the Earth, known for its amazing natural beauty, its gigantic glaciers, and its unique wildlife. Its remote location, vast expanse of ice, and extreme conditions and qualities make it a fascinating destination. Antarctica offers the opportunity to witness pristine and challenging landscapes, where the climate, the coldest and most extreme on the planet, creates long winters with temperatures often dropping below 60 degrees Celsius. In this extreme climate, although it may seem exaggerated, the wind itself could be deadly, as Antarctic winds can reach speeds of over 320 kilometers per hour, the speed of a Formula One car. This means that the deadly winds are strong enough to lift any skilled mountaineer into the air, or dislodge large blocks of snow and ice in a single blow. In addition, any wind current that arrives here cools and sweeps across the entire area, sometimes freezing everything in its path. All this happens because Antarctica, considered the seventh continent, with an extension of 14 million square kilometers, is covered with ice. Antarctica is considered a continent because it meets the fundamental characteristics. It has its own large landmass covered by a thick layer of ice. It is delimited and separated from other continental masses by the oceans, and has an independent geological structure, composed of rocks and solid ground under the ice. It also has its own biodiversity and ecosystem, as you will soon discover in more detail. These speeds, the terrain, and the extreme climate make such natural realities as this wind can be deadly, and surely this has much to do with the fact that the austral summer is the one chosen by most adventurers and explorers to visit Antarctica. Because despite its inhospitality and isolation, the frozen continent attracts thousands of scientists, explorers, and adventurers every year due to its uniqueness and mystery. Explorers such as those who gave this vast region its name and establish the origins of the seventh continent, ventured on risky and challenging expeditions. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, brave navigators such as James Cook and Henrik Bull explored the southern seas, facing the dangers of extreme weather and icy seas. It was during these expeditions that the mysterious Antarctica, so called because its name meant the opposite of the Arctic, a continent covered in ice and surrounded by turbulent waters, was first sighted. James Cook, a British captain and explorer, was one of the first to venture south in search of new lands. In the year 1773, Cook crossed the Antarctic Circle in the Ross Sea region, approaching Antarctica on his expeditions. Although he did not see Antarctic land himself, his sightings of icebergs and signs of land in the distance indicated the presence of this continent beyond what was known. More than a century later, a whaling expedition led by the Norwegian Henrik Bull in the year 1895 made the first confirmed landing in Antarctica. During this voyage, the small boat led by Bull made landfall at Cape Adare, marking a milestone in Antarctic exploration. This event was fundamental for the official recognition of Antarctica as a separate continent, as opposed to the Arctic polar region. On December 14th of the year 1911, the Norwegian Roald Amundsen led an expedition that reached the South Pole for the first time in the history of mankind. This achievement was a monumental milestone in polar exploration and marked a turning point in the history of Antarctica. Amundsen's feat not only demonstrated man's ability to meet nature's most extreme challenges, but also revealed the true extent and uniqueness of the Antarctic continent. Reaching the South Pole represented reaching the southernmost point of the Earth, located in the center of the Antarctic continent, and symbolized the definitive conquest of one of the last unexplored territories of the planet. It is surprising but true. The planet Uranus, located more than 2.8 billion kilometers from Earth, was discovered by humans years before Antarctica was explored. Uranus, which revealed its secrets on March 13, 1981, was first observed by the British astronomer William Herschel. This discovery preceded the exploration and confirmation of the existence of Antarctica as a separate continent, since it was not until 1895 when its existence was definitively confirmed. Much of the difficulty in discovering Antarctica was due to the fact that to get here it was necessary to overcome what was recognized as the most dangerous region on the planet, an extremely dangerous and wild marine territory known as the Drake Passage. This passage, located between the southern tip of South America and the Antarctic Peninsula, has always been shrouded in an aura of mystery and danger. The waters of the Drake Passage are infamous for their unpredictable weather conditions, with strong winds, violent storms, and huge waves that can make even the most experienced sailors tremble with fear. For centuries, the Drake Passage has witnessed numerous maritime disasters due to its extreme weather conditions and turbulent waters. But in addition to the known dangers, until recently there was an unknown mystery lurking in these waters: monster waves. These gigantic waves, capable of reaching colossal heights of tens of meters and sinking even the sturdiest ships, were considered marine legends until science finally managed to document them on an oil platform in the Drake Passage a few years ago. The discovery of these monster waves has added even more mystery and danger to this already feared region of the world, and it is no wonder that for centuries, mariners have avoided these turbulent waters, which greatly limited exploration and discovery of Antarctica. Legends such as that of the monster waves were joined by many others in ancient times, such as those of the sea monsters in this region. Colossal monsters, some of which exist in reality, as the one known as colossal squid, also called the Great Antarctic Squid, the largest species of squid that lives here, a sea beast that can easily reach 15 meters in length. Although there are stories that relate the existence of much larger specimens, these majestic cephalopods are a feat of evolution. They use their large eyes, the largest of any animal species, to detect their prey in the darkness of the deep Antarctic Ocean. It is not surprising that expeditions to Antarctica were few and far between, as many sailors not only feared facing the wildest sea on Earth, but also believed that the Drake Passage was the perfect lair for the mythological kraken. This legendary sea monster, described as a gigantic cephalopod capable of sinking ships, seems to have been created around encounters with the colossal squid, a real creature that inhabits the depths of the Southern Ocean. The colossal squid, with its huge tentacles and elusive nature, may have fueled the stories and legends of sailors, making the idea of venturing into the icy reaches of the world all the more terrifying. But in addition to the colossal squid, there are many other extraordinary species that inhabit Antarctica. In the bowels of the ice live giant worms, sea spiders with legs of surprising size, or Draco fish with translucent skin, which allows you to see their insides and the non-existence of red blood. As you can imagine, Antarctica is a unique continent in terms of its fauna, characterized by species adapted to the extreme conditions of cold and ice. Among the most common animals are penguins, especially the emperor penguin. These penguins are emblematic of the region, adapted to withstand low temperatures and long periods without sunlight. The living conditions are also extreme for many of these animals, as there are places, Zavadovsky Island, part of the South Sandwich Islands, where high cliffs force the penguins to make spectacular jumps from great heights to access the sea and get food. This behavior is extreme but necessary for their survival, as the high coasts and cliffs form natural barriers between their breeding grounds and the ocean. Penguins show remarkable adaptability and ability to survive in one of the harshest environments on the planet, demonstrating the resilience and resourcefulness of Antarctic wildlife. In addition to penguins, seals are also very common, including species such as Weddell seals, crab-eater seals, and leopard seals. Seabirds such as petrels and albatrosses are common in the Antarctic skies, while the surrounding waters abound with various species of whales, including blue whales and killer whales. Today, reaching Antarctica is easier than it was a few decades ago, due to advances in science and the fact that many of the expeditions reach this continent in planes or ships, prepared to navigate this wild region of the planet. Despite this, the Drake Passage remains a crossing feared by many because of its reputation for danger, and because Antarctica is surrounded by the vast Southern Ocean and covered mostly by ice. Expeditions to the frozen continent usually depart from countries such as Chile, Argentina, Australia, or New Zealand, which are the closest nations to the White Continent. These teams of researchers and adventurers face long sea or air voyages, prepared to face the harsh conditions of the Antarctic climate and the challenges of the Drake Passage, in their quest to explore and understand this remote and mysterious territory. The origin of the name of the also known as the White Continent comes from the Greek, anti, which means the opposite of, so Antarctica means the opposite of the Arctic. That's why this region had a name even before it was discovered. A remote and barely explored territory, with extreme conditions such as being the coldest and also the highest continent on the planet. The average height of Antarctica is 2,000 meters above sea level. But this is not the total thickness of the ice that forms this continent, since, under these kilometers of ice that cover the surface of Antarctica, there are entire mountain ranges, with peaks of more than 3,000 meters high. This imposing height makes the impressive landscapes of Antarctica look like something out of a movie, but they are totally real. An indescribable sensation for those who have the good fortune to sail these seas on board expedition ships and observe gigantic mountains of ice on the same sea level. All of this makes Antarctica's landscapes fascinating and unique, as well as its extreme climate. The coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth, according to the World Meteorological Organization, was 89.2 degrees Celsius below zero at the Russian station Vostok in Antarctica. This record was set on July 21st of the year 1983. In recent years, thanks to technology obtained from satellites, it has been observed that in some areas of Antarctica, temperatures can be even more extreme, dropping to temperatures below 93.2 degrees Celsius below zero. Antarctica, despite being covered with ice instead of sand, is commonly referred to as the world's largest desert, a fact that might surprise more than a few people. But it is, since deserts are not limited to vast expanses of sand, but are defined by low rainfall, extreme temperatures, and the absence of plant life. In this sense, Antarctica fits perfectly into this desert category, with its frigid climate, lack of significant rainfall, and limited biodiversity that has managed to adapt to the extreme conditions of the frozen continent. In the Lutz-Salt Desert, which is the hottest spot on the planet, the maximum temperature is 70.7 degrees Celsius. In contrast, in Antarctica, you now know that the minimum temperature can be less than -90 degrees Celsius during the winter. Because of this, Antarctica falls into the category of polar desert, since 98% of this continent is covered with ice and the climate is extremely dry. Rainfall is not very frequent here. The few times this happens is during the summer, when the ice evaporates and there is more humidity in the atmosphere. This is why the Austral summer is the season chosen by most adventurers and explorers to access this inhospitable frozen continent. During the Austral summer, weather conditions are slightly less extreme, which facilitates research and exploration operations in Antarctica. The days are longer, and the temperatures, although still cold as they rarely exceed 0 degrees Celsius, are more tolerable, allowing outdoor activities to be carried out in greater safety and comfort. This is why many scientific and expeditionary teams plan their trips during this time of year to take full advantage of the more favorable conditions. The main obstacle for visiting Antarctica, apart from the climatic and geographical difficulties you're meeting, lies in the delicacy of its ecosystem, since the frozen continent requires special protection. That is why the Antarctic Treaty was created, an international agreement that established that Antarctica should be used only for peaceful purposes and be free of human activities that could damage its environment. One of the main reasons for this extreme protection is that Antarctica is home to approximately 70% of the planet's fresh water, stored in the form of ice. This fact makes this continent a fundamental piece for the global hydrological balance and to maintain life on Earth. This gigantic frozen desert has been divided and is administered by 12 different nations. These countries are Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, the United States, Norway, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, Russia, and South Africa. In all of Antarctica, there are very important research points and camps, managed by these treaty countries, but there is only one village where there are not only penguins, but inhabitants, i.e., humans. This place is called Villa Las Estrellas and belongs to Chile. It is arguably the only inhabited community in Antarctica. This small village is home to scientists, support staff, and their families. A village with its own school, a post office, and even its own telephone company, as well as a news portal called Prensa Antarctica and Internet, so that its inhabitants do not believe that they are cut off from the rest of the world. Although they face extreme weather conditions, as you now know, the residents of Villa Las Estrellas maintain an active and social life. They participate in recreational and sporting activities, such as soccer tournaments and community events, which help maintain a lively atmosphere in the midst of the polar cold. This community is made up of researchers working at the various scientific research stations located in Antarctica, as well as the support staff needed to keep these facilities running. In addition to the scientists, the families of these researchers also reside here, creating a small community where they can combine work and family life to thrive in this unique environment. Although Star Village could be considered the only settlement in Antarctica, there are a large number of camps and research stations on the frozen continent, which are established and operated by the countries that manage and created the Antarctic Treaty. The Antarctic Treaty prevents certain undesirable activities and also regulates tourist access to the continent, requiring special permits and compliance with strict guidelines to protect wildlife and the natural environment. These camps are distributed in various areas of Antarctica and are intended for scientific research in fields such as meteorology, glaciology, biology, geology, and astrophysics, among others. Surely one of the most surprising facts about these camps is the unusual way in which many of its inhabitants live. For in these camps, the lack of space and resources often forces residents to share beds or take express showers of less than 90 seconds. In these places, privacy and intimate life is a rare luxury that causes many of its residents to lose their shame completely and have to adapt to a closer and more collaborative coexistence. Because of this, and because many of these people come to Antarctica solely to spend the austral summer months, many of these residents consider the experience an adult camp. In Antarctica, during the long winters, the days are characterized by a lack of sunlight, as the sun hides below the horizon for an extended period of time. This phenomenon is known as polar night, and its duration can vary depending on the specific location in Antarctica. In some regions, the polar night can last for several months, during which the landscape remains in continuous darkness. On the other hand, during the Antarctic summer, the opposite occurs. The sun remains visible around the clock in some areas, resulting in so-called eternal days. During this period, daylight seems to be endless, which can be disorienting for those who are not used to these conditions. Eternal days offer Antarctic inhabitants the opportunity to conduct activities both during the day and at night, which can drastically change the daily dynamics at camps and research stations. The best-known Antarctic camps, such as McMurdo Base in the United States, Palmer Base in Argentina, and Bellingshausen Base in Russia, are temporary homes for researchers, scientists, and support staff. These locations are centers of scientific activity and have a fluctuating population depending on the season. Although most of the residents are researchers, family members are occasionally allowed in these camps, adding a touch of everyday life in the midst of this seemingly endless frozen wilderness. In Antarctic camps such as McMurdo Base, daily life is characterized by camaraderie and collaboration among residents. With up to 1,000 people at the base during the austral summer months, a diversity of roles and responsibilities is commonplace. From scientists to carpenters to dishwashers, many carry out multiple tasks to keep the base running smoothly. According to residents, life at McMurdo is akin to living in a small town, where social interactions are frequent and activity is constant. Staff turnover contributes to a dynamic environment, with people coming and going between stations or embarking on expeditions and research trips throughout the season. This constant hustle and bustle creates a sense of community, where interaction and entertainment are encouraged. Despite the extreme conditions of the Antarctic environment, where time and resources are limited, McMurdo Base residents find creative ways to socialize and keep busy. Visits between neighboring bases, such as Scott Base in New Zealand, provide additional opportunities for social interaction, with sharing activities such as jam sessions, book clubs, and movie marathons. Even yoga, language, and other classes are organized to enrich the community experience in these remote environments. However, even with the presence of families, life in these camps remains extreme and marked by the unforgiving nature of the reality of the Antarctic environment. One thing that all visitors to Antarctica live with that does not exist elsewhere on the planet is that here they have all the time in the world. Since Antarctica does not have an exact time zone, the time zone or time zone is the name given to each area of the Earth that follows the same definition of time. That is why Colombia, Cuba, and Florida have the same time, for example, because Antarctica is located at the south pole of our planet, resulting in a lack of a defined time zone. Therefore, the frozen continent is divided by the 24 different time zones that exist in the world. This diversity of time zones can lead to confusion and difficulties in coordinating activities, as residents and visitors to Antarctica may find themselves in different time zones within the same continent. This lack of a standard time can lead to people not following a specific schedule, and instead relying on sunlight and the operational needs of the moment to determine the time to perform certain activities. In addition, the dynamic and changing nature of the Antarctic climate, along with the demands of scientific and logistical missions, can also influence the flexibility of schedules. For all these reasons, in an environment where the priority is safety and meeting research objectives, and where day and night function very differently from the rest of the world, it could be said that the rigidity of conventional schedules here does not exist and is not a priority. At this point, we take the opportunity to ask you, would you like to visit Antarctica? What has surprised you most about the frozen continent? Pause the video and leave us your comment. As you know, is the best way to help us to keep working to bring you every week videos as interesting as this one. So, thank you. And don't miss the rest of the video to learn about the most enigmatic mysteries of Antarctica, as well as how any of us could manage to visit this incredible place. At this point, you're probably thinking, what have researchers missed here in this frozen continent of extreme climate? Well, reality often surpasses fiction, as this remote region is home to some of the most extraordinary and mysterious events in the history of mankind. To begin with, the existence of fungi capable of surviving on planets such as Mars was discovered in Antarctica. This happened in the dry valleys of McMurdo, surely the place on Earth most similar to Mars. These valleys are one of the driest and most hostile regions of the planet, a place where, according to studies, it has not rained or snowed for 2 million years. At first glance, it might seem an inhospitable place for life, given that water is a fundamental requirement for the existence of any organism. However, as strange as it may seem, some microorganisms, such as certain types of Antarctic fungi, are able to survive in the cracks of the rocks in this region. A few years ago, a team of researchers sent samples of these fungi to the International Space Station to subject them to conditions identical to those on Mars and observe their response. More than 60% of the cells of these fungi had remained intact after the Martian exposure, which greatly helped scientists understand what life on the red planet might be like. But surely the strangest phenomenon in this valley is the so-called blood cataracts. In this region, the blood seems to flow under the ice, giving rise to a macabre frozen landscape of absolutely apocalyptic appearance. Recently, attempts have been made to provide a scientific explanation for these blood falls. Supposedly, they originate because iron-rich salt water seeps through fissures in the Taylor Glacier. When the iron comes into contact with air, it oxidizes, which, according to scientists, would explain its murky reddish color. Another of the most surprising findings in Antarctica is the discovery of fire under the ice in a place known as Deception Island. This site could be considered one of the most unique in the entire region. It was a seal hunter who gave the island its name, after discovering that under its ordinary appearance was hidden an active volcano. Scientific studies reveal that more than 10,000 years ago, a violent eruption caused the top of the volcano to collapse, forming a flooded caldera in the center of the island. Since then, this volcano has spewed ash and fiery lava into the cold waters of the Southern Ocean. This volcanic activity has turned the island into an oasis amidst the frigid Antarctic climate. As a result, Deception Island has become a vital refuge for thousands of penguin pairs that choose this place to live and breed in Antarctica, thus contributing to preserve the diverse fauna of this continent. But there are not only volcanoes under the ice of this huge continent. There are many more mysteries that have been discovered. As for example, the almost 400 freshwater lakes, of which Lake Vostok is the largest of all. These lakes have been isolated from the Earth's atmosphere for 15 million years under the enormous Antarctic ice sheet. It is thought that primitive microorganisms, such as those that gave rise to the current forms of life on Earth, could exist in them. If that were the case, we could be closer to finding extraterrestrial life, because the conditions of Lake Vostok and these other lakes are very similar to those of the oceans that extend beneath the icy surface of Europa, one of the moons of the planet Jupiter, or that of Enceladus, one of the moons of Saturn. The vastness of the ice on this continent is so enormous that a few years ago, in the year 1986, the largest iceberg in the world broke off from West Antarctica, an iceberg that was given the name of 23, and its size is truly monstrous. For 23 is 3 times the size of New York City and weighs more than 1 billion tons. This colossal iceberg has been drifting in the Weddell Sea since its breakup and has been regularly monitored by scientists due to its enormous size. Although it has experienced fragmentations over time, its main mass still floats in the cold Antarctic waters, being one of the largest masses of drifting ice ever recorded. So much ice is found on this continent that 99% of Antarctica is known to be covered by a thick layer of ice up to 4 kilometers thick. In winter, this frozen surface is as large as the United States and Mexico combined. Science estimates that if all this ice were to melt, the sea level would rise some 60 meters, and cities like New York, Havana, Buenos Aires, or Rio de Janeiro would be forever below sea level. Another mystery that intrigues a large part of the world has to do with the possible extraterrestrial presence in Antarctica. Because of the limited human presence in Antarctica and its vast, unexplored extension, there are many who suggest that extraterrestrial beings could have secret bases on the continent. On a monthly basis, people around the world share coordinates on Google Maps, claiming to have discovered unusual structures. One of the most prominent images shows a high-rise structure, the unnatural nature of which raises speculation about its extraterrestrial origin. Its authenticity has not yet been verified, so the mystery persists, just as the belief in ancient civilizations that may have populated this continent is kept alive. This theory is very intriguing and was born when a geologist claimed to have discovered a pyramid at least 10,000 years old on the frozen continent. The images discovered suggest and can assure that this structure is not natural, but no exhaustive research has yet been carried out to confirm this origin, adding an element of mystery to this vast and icy continent. But perhaps the most striking and well-known enigma of this continent is the mystery of the mirages, one of Antarctica's most chilling secrets that is known to have led to the disappearance of people. Carl Roberts, a scientist working at the Green Base in the year 1965, became one of the victims of these mirages. According to what is known so far, the scientist, following a hypnotic vision, deviated from his usual route and disappeared in the icy vastness of Antarctica. His tragic fate serves as a reminder of the deadly dangers that lurk in this polar wilderness. This enigma has puzzled explorers and scientists for decades. One scientific theory suggests that these visual phenomena could be the result of the extreme cold conditions and the unique structure of the Antarctic atmosphere. On this vast, ice-covered continent, temperatures can drop to extraordinarily low levels, creating significant temperature differences between the frozen ground and the surrounding air layers. These temperature disparities can cause light refraction effects, where the sun's rays are deflected, creating optical illusions. These effects can manifest as mirages, where distant objects appear distorted or displaced, giving the impression of water or other unreal landscapes on the horizon. However, due to the scarcity of direct research in the region and the difficulty of conducting detailed studies in such extreme conditions, there is still uncertainty surrounding this phenomenon. In addition to all these mysteries that you have known, in Antarctica occurs a disconcerting reality, and is that it seems that the ice produces paranormal sound melodies, a phenomenon known as the Southern Song. This phenomenon of the Austral Song occurs in the Ross Ice Shelf. This floating mass of ice, which is between 15 and 50 meters high and covers an area of more than 500,000 square kilometers, emits a series of sounds as astonishing as they are eerie. This phenomenon, known as ice singing, is produced by winds blowing across the snow dunes, generating surface vibrations and seismic tones that, although not perceptible to the human ear, were discovered by scientists using seismic sensors. This acoustic phenomenon, discovered thanks to advanced measuring instruments, is a kind of subway melody that is constantly modulating, a fascinating testimony of the complex interactions between wind, ice, and Antarctic topography, showing how the icy landscape is full of life and activity, although not always visible or audible to us. The Ross Ice Shelf, therefore, is not only a vast expanse of floating ice, but also a natural orchestra whose notes reflect the environmental changes occurring in this remote, cold corner of the world. As you may have appreciated, Antarctica is surely one of the most mysterious places on the planet, a continent that will surely attract your attention, and perhaps you would like to visit. Thinking about it, we have investigated the possibilities of getting to step on this huge icy desert. Visiting Antarctica is a unique and amazing experience, but it also involves careful planning due to the extreme conditions and strict regulations. This frozen continent, despite being inhospitable, attracts adventurers and scientists from all over the world who seek to explore its pristine landscapes and unique ecosystems. Below, I provide you with a detailed guide for those who wish to get to know Antarctica. To visit Antarctica, no specific visa is required, as it does not belong to any particular country. However, since most trips depart from countries such as Argentina or Chile, it is essential to check visa requirements for these departure countries. In addition, any trip to Antarctica must be arranged through authorized tour operators and in compliance with the Antarctic Treaty, which regulates activities to protect the ecosystem. Trips to Antarctica generally depart from Ushuaia in Argentina, known as the southernmost city in the world, or from Punta Arenas in Chile. Tourists usually embark on specially designed cruise ships to navigate the cold waters of the Drake Passage, one of the most dangerous sea routes on the planet due to its extreme weather conditions and rough seas. Alternatively, some charter flights are also available, although they are more expensive and limited. The cost of visiting Antarctica can vary considerably depending on the type of voyage, duration, and level of comfort. A typical cruise trip to Antarctica can range from $5,000 to $15,000 per person, depending on the package and amenities included. These prices usually cover transportation, accommodations, meals, and activities during the trip, such as landings and guided excursions. The cost of living in Antarctica is considerably high due to the lack of resources and the need to import almost everything. At the research bases and camps, life is basic but functional. There are no stores or markets, and the supply of food and other essentials is carefully managed by the authorities at each base. Tourists do not usually stay in Antarctica for extended periods, and their stay is limited to the days of the cruise or organized trip. During the visit, activities include observing local wildlife such as penguins, seals, and seabirds, exploring the impressive glaciers and ice mountains, and participating in kayaking or snowshoeing excursions. It is important to follow all the guidelines of the guides and tour operators to minimize environmental impact and ensure everyone's safety. As you can see, visiting Antarctica is an extraordinary adventure that requires careful planning, as well as considerable financial investment and a spirit of adventure. But getting there is also a unique opportunity to experience one of the last untouched corners of the planet, to observe its incredible wildlife and landscapes, and to understand the importance of its conservation for the health of our planet. From Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of Antarctica has been as fascinating for you as it has been for us. We are sure that there are not many places as extraordinary as this one, so if one day you have the opportunity, we encourage you to get to know this remote region of the planet. Thinking about it, and the effort it takes us to make these videos. If you have enjoyed this video and you are not yet subscribed, do not wait any longer and do it now by activating the little bell to not miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now to know another of the most fascinating corners of the planet. Don't miss it and discover the wonders that this place has to offer.